मेरे नाल इस वेले कैश हीट साहब फोन लाइन ते मौजूद ने गुड मॉर्निंग काउंसलर हीट थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग सर
Good morning. My pleasure.
Sir, first of all, if you can give us some update on the current status of City of Richmond's appeal against the Cowichan ruling, and what is the anticipated timeline, if any, for the resolution through the courts, or do you think there is any other solution which can be achieved through dialogue?
Well, let me start right from the outset. I believe that the ruling by Justice Barbara Young and her subsequent judgment is aired. I think she is not, certainly reading the Constitution Act, which we're guided by here in 1982 under the Act on how we deal with some of our Aboriginal communities, and we deal with the land claim settlement. And I think what has happened here with the Cowichan suing the city of Richmond and other levels of government has caused a lot of uncertainty in what is happening. And as you can imagine, that all of the individuals that were defendants have appealed the decision. The matter's in front of the BC Appeal Court for them to look at and hopefully rule on. And I think at that point we'll have a collective judicial judgment versus a single trial judge who, again, in my opinion, has erred in this. But what has happened is because of the attention which is being placed on this, and I don't think it's the right attention, we've created this uncertainty even more. We've actually inflamed the issue when in fact we know that whatever we do, demonstrations, meetings, whatever, is not going to influence the appeal court on this, and eventually it'll go to the Supreme Court. So it's a long way down the road. What that timeline is, I can't exactly say, but there's not going to be an immediate solution for this. Our job as politicians, I'll just finish on this, is to give certainty to the landowners that are caught up in this dispute.
You talk about the anxiety and the difficulty the residents are facing right now. How do you see the step which has been taken by the Mayor Malcolm Brodie by distributing the letters, the warning letters to the residents? Do you think that gave more anxiety to the residents, or that was a right way to deliver the message?
It was the wrong way to deliver information on this court process that we're involved in my opinion. What happened here, and the reason why I say it was wrong, is the Justice Young was clear in defining the areas that are under dispute. The Cowichan tribe had a larger area that they originally went with on the lawsuit, and they're counter-appealing to go back to that, which is expected. But her ruling was within a limited area when she talked about fee simple and Aboriginal rights to the land. What happened is, for some unknown reason, and I'm having difficulty trying to get a true explanation, it's expanded. The mayor sent this letter out to the expanded area, which included many more people that are going to be affected, when really that is not the ruling. That is not what Justice Young came out and said. That's what the Cowichan said. And the point I want to make here, had this been an issue years ago, before I even got into council, that this matter was in front of the courts, that would have been the time to alert the entire area. But now you've gone back, and although the justice is defining it to a smaller area, 40% of the original claim, there was, I believe, 767 acres to begin with, and she only talked about 40% of that in her judgment. The rest is fine. And now we've inflamed it by going out and taking that broader area and trying to rile people up. And I don't understand that. We don't need more chaos in this than we already have.
Mr. Heed, Premier David Eby support Richmond Mayor Malcolm Brodie's decision to warn property owners. How do you see that? I mean, the reaction of the provincial government, and especially the same question. Then another question which I want you to answer as well. Has Mayor Brodie discussed this with the council regarding distribution of these letters or publishing these letters?
Okay, let me answer the latter one first.
Mhm.
So, what was explained to us in council, and we were not given a copy of this letter and the maps that were sent out
Mhm.
and all of the material before it went out. What we were told is, and we were under the understanding it would be based on the judgment. We were told that there are people within the area that are a little concerned. Matter of fact, I met with a few of those people that are concerned with what is going on because of the uncertainty.
Mhm.
What they were asking for was some information with respect to that, and we can give that out to them individually, like we have previously. So we were told that he figured it would be a good idea to have an information session. We were not told that it was going to go out to the broader, which actually, increase the number of people that are concerned to this till after the fact, till my phone started ringing Friday and all day Saturday from people saying, is this letter legitimate or is this some type of AI joke that's being played on us? Because it's very
Mhm.
concerning. And as you can imagine, I know Jenny and yourself are heavily involved in the social media on them. You can see how that created a bit of a stir within social media as a
Mhm.
result of that.
Mhm.
Now, your initial question, David Eby plays to his advantage on all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And, and he's got to, sometimes he'll take a position where, look, I'm not going to comment on this because the matter's in front of the courts.
Mm.
But when he thinks he can get some political gain out of it, he will comment on it. And so
Mhm.
that's what we're seeing now. And it doesn't surprise me that he's acting in this way because he's just going to take, the political advantage whatever way he can, but he doesn't want to take a political hit.
So,
Now, when you look at, and
mhm.
I just want to make this
Mhm.
point for your audience because this
Mhm.
is very important.
Mhm.
There's 867 pages in her decision. I have not read every word of it, but I've had a good look several times at some of the documentation in there. And she actually hits a bit of a balance point, although I don't agree with her. She hits a bit of a balance point where she says, when we talk about fee simple, when we talk about Aboriginal lands, and she talks about them coexisting together, which that seems to rile everyone up. She says, look, the governments need to deal with this somehow. The federal government and the provincial government and the local governments in a way that's going to calm the waters. She never ever said that you go back and you take over these lands. That is not in there. And she actually gave 18 months for governments to come to some solution on this. But the matter is in front of the courts. Let's let this collective judicial judgment come to fruition, and then of course it's going to go to the Supreme Court.
So
We've
what is
kind of
what is the
pre-planned.
reaction of the property owners? If you have met anyone, what is the reaction of the property owners after receiving that letter, that warning
Well,
letter?
before they got the letter, some had calm heads. Now we've got, and I'm told there may be demonstrations from both sides at this information session. We've got all of this rhetoric that's out there now that's created a controversy beyond what it should be.
Ginny Sims wants to ask you a question, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Cash, for your analysis of this. One of the things that the judge was very clear on, that she was not making that final decision. She was leaving it to the parties to negotiate.
Yes.
So there is this 18-month window. So why do you think the mayor of Richmond would have gone out on this and not explained that to people?
Well, that's the question I've been asking now, and I think it's his politics, and that's what we need to do. And I lay out the fact that he could have done this several years ago when the initial suit was filed against all of the people in this. So now he's gone out and done it the way he wanted to. And, maybe it's because he's decided he can now, thump his fist on his chest because he's, not going to run again. I'm not sure. And all I know is that it's created a lot more conflict with our residents and businesses, our farmers in Richmond than needed to be. Because, Ginny, at the end of the day, you know very well the courts are going to decide this. I don't think it can be negotiated to the level it needs to be. I think we're going to end up at the Supreme Court of Canada.
I
Because
agree.
they will have to define what the Constitution Act of 1982 states with respect to this.
I agree with you that the courts will decide because this is before the courts, and dealing with land and First Nations is not left up to politicians on their own, right? If it had been, there would have been settlements a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
there may still be a negotiated settlement, but I think there are people who are going to want this to be settled by the courts because because this could have other implications for other parts of BC and other parts of Canada. But my biggest fear, Cash, is what impact is this going to have on our truth and reconciliation and economic development in BC?
Well, you're right. It will have an impact on both of those. But based on some of the rhetoric and the problems, the biases that are being spewed right now, it's going to create a wider divide between the Aboriginal community and the other communities because of this. And that's what we tried to pull together so we didn't have the divide over the years in trying to deal with it. Whether we want to point the finger at the governments for not doing it, the fact remains it's like that. Let's stop pointing fingers. Let's move forward in a civil fashion and deal with it the way it's expected. So I absolutely agree. The Supreme Court of Canada will make the decision on this at the end of the day.
I found it interesting that the leader, the spokesperson for the Cowichan peoples, when she spoke yesterday, she said this is not what they asked for, that they were surprised by what the judge gave them. And they are looking for a solution to this as well. But my big concern right now is that, like you and like I've talked to some of these homeowners who did phone me when this ruling first came out. They had calmed down, and now their anger and the fear for their home is very, very high. And I keep thinking, if that was happening to my house was in that circled area, how would I be feeling? And their fears are real, and we have to acknowledge those. And let's hope the courts decide on this quickly.
I don't think it'll be as quick as we want, but I absolutely agree with the apprehension right when we were kind of just saying, let the courts deal with it. And this is one where, politicians don't like to speak out if the matter's in front of the court, except if you're cash heat. I'll speak out no matter what if I truly believe in something. But this is one where let's let the courts deal with this. They are the ones that are required to. We can negotiate and, as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we're not going to please everyone here.
All right, Mr. Heath, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, sir. And we would love to have you back on our radio station. I know that there's going to be a very big announcement soon, and we would love to have you on that, sir.
A pleasure. I'd love to be there with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.